A lot of people don't understand that we all have accent. When people say, I don't have an accent, it just probably means that your accent is considered to be like a standard one. It's a magical thing to feel proud about something that you've created. I know for sure that it works, and I know for sure that it's going to be helpful. I have no shame whatsoever in marketing my own courses because I feel proud of them. Like, I did it and I know what I'm talking about. It's like a personal growth on steroids. And there are so many things you have to discover, and you have to be really honest with yourself. Am I ready to commit to it? We just think the students just magically appear on our calendar and that's it. And then you realize that there's a lot of work behind. I did experience burnout before, and it was not fun. I was physically not fit for work. I couldn't speak. I couldn't hear. Right now, I'm saying no to the things that do not bring joy.
So how did you learn to communicate result-based pricing and offers as opposed to hourly?
It sounded very logical to me to communicate the results in terms of, okay, by the end of a course, you would be prepared to take a job interview in English. So this is what you have to pay for. This is not the hours that you're going to be working with me. So you move them from the idea of we're going to count the hours to the idea that you would be able to do something at the end. And just shows the progress.
Someone were to shadow you for 7 days, what would they be surprised by?
I think they would be really surprised by the amount of people that I talk to every day. What that? I talk to a lot of people. I love people. Brings me joy.
Yeah.
This is the Teacher Talking Time podcast.
Hey, I'm Andrew, and welcome to the next episode in our series on highlighting education entrepreneurs. In this episode, I was lucky enough to sit down with Anna Aleksenko, who is an entrepreneur and teacher based in Georgia. If you've been following the beginning of this series, Leo and I really want to highlight entrepreneurs in education who run different kind of businesses, different kind of business models to really showcase not only what they do, but what's possible in this space in education. And we're lucky that Anna agreed to come on the show because she's a great example of that. She runs Voice It English, which is a program that helps professionals turn English into what she calls their career superpower. She's been teaching for over 17 years, and as you'll learn throughout this episode, has had to reinvent herself many times. The theme of reinvention, I think, is something that every entrepreneur can relate to. I know I can, and Leo can as well. Throughout this episode, we really focus on both the personal and professional when it comes to entrepreneurship, talking with Anna about burnout and how she sets boundaries, and actually some of the burnout that she's gone through, how language can shape identity, and then more of the business stuff of moving from hourly-based pricing to results-based pricing, developing a powerful community of learners, and advice for anyone looking to start into entrepreneurship in education. So we're very happy to chat with Anna. We know you'll learn a lot from this episode. And without further ado, let's get into it. We love to start with the hard-hitting questions right off the top.
Oh,
so
okay.
You have a cat in your LinkedIn banner picture.
Right.
And I'm trying to decipher the cat's expression. And I'm assuming this is purposeful. So the expression is either terrified, excited, impressed. I can't tell. What went into putting a cat, just from a branding perspective?
The decision was, I don't know if you were aware, but there was a meme where there was a cat and there was this little speech bubble and the cat basically said, woof. And my message was like, I teach people speak foreign languages, and the cat saying woof, that's the kind of interpretation that you could, in fact, speak a foreign language as a cat speaks a dog's language. But then the speech bubble disappeared and the cat just stayed there. I think it adds a bit of, I didn't want to do this simple, bland thing of I am an English teacher thingy. I thought, okay, I'm going to leave the cat in there.
I like it. No, I think it works. It's eye-catching. It catches your attention. It goes right. It looks like it's looking right at all, like the reviews, like the 5-star reviews that you have. So if that's on purpose, well done. Very good. Anna, welcome to the show. Very happy to chat with you today.
Very happy to be here.
All right. You mentioned that you help your clients with international, these are my words, international linguistic transformations, and any person who has a business have that kind of transformation that we work with clients about. But I think that's something that you, or in my interpretation, is something that you actually embody because you've done international transformations yourself. You moved abroad. As you say, you started over again, and you put out there the notion that communication opens doors. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, what doors were closed for you when you started over?
Okay, going back a little bit. So 10 years ago, I started working for international markets and I started working for European markets. At that time, I was still living in Russia and I was like a Russian girl from a small town and I didn't know much. And then I got invited to an interview and I was like, oh, wow, okay, I'm a non-native speaker. What is that you want from me? Also, I was a bit skeptical to begin with. And then it started. And then I grew in the midst of being an international professional, being in the international market myself. And that's what I help my students achieve as well. Like what it means to be an outsider, what it means to be an alien, which is a favorite American word nowadays. Mm-hmm. Like how do you even get there and how do you stay there and how do you embody this identity? Do you still feel less than because you're an outsider? Or is there something that you could do that could help the student to feel that they actually on par with the rest of the colleagues and international colleagues that they have in? So pretty much it's all about that. And the students that I'm currently working with, they are all international professionals, but they have to use English. English is not their native language, but they have to use English on a daily basis. And quite often they have this lesser than identity that they think because of my accent, because of my language background, I am not there yet. And it can be quite absurd because you would have an Italian student come into the session and say, ooh, allora, this last meeting that we had with German client went terrible because I was not speaking perfect English. And then you would have a German student come into you and they would say absolutely the same. Like the last meeting we had, it was absolutely terrible because no one understood my German accent. And you realize, you talk to them, you explain things to them, and you say, that's all of it is okay. The global teams don't need perfect English. They need to get the job done so that you are all non-native English speakers. And this is your multilingual brain is a superpower. So just have to.
I'm always wondering like how people assess this, right? So is that like an imposter syndrome of these people thinking they haven't done a good job, or are they actually objectively assessing how the meeting went? If we think about teaching, think about outcomes, right? Or an outcome of a task. Can you perform the task? Makes sense. How do you coach your clients on that? Is it, if I'm right, a psychological barrier rather than maybe an actual barrier?
Oh yeah, totally. I think that's an interesting one because I do believe that we as an industry, we don't spend enough time paying attention to emotions, and emotions can in fact either help or hinder the learning. So I think a lot of people underestimate the fear system that people have. It's very easy to say, just go out there and dominate, go out there and talk to someone. It's not that simple. The fear system is so powerful that it affects your facial muscles, it affects your neck, it affects your inner ear. So when people really tell you, when someone talks to me, I don't hear them, there is a biological explanation to this. So you start by, the only thing that you could help with is the fear system is regulated with the sense of safety. So I always start with rapport, with trust, with humor, with creating the safe space, saying mistakes are okay, silences are perfect, awkwardness is welcome. So we start by allowing them to feel more comfortable in the situation and yeah, and little by little, you let them know that it's okay. There's no threat. It's okay. You can let it go. You can let go your fear system. It's safe. I'm safe. You're safe. It's all good. So they could build this safe place inside. And every time they go out in the real communication situation, they would have this inside, like feeling good about their English.
Interesting. How did you learn that? Is that something, I guess in business, not usually, but sometimes someone starts a business and they solve their own problem. I have that, and I think other people do too. So I'm going to create maybe a solution for that. It sounds like you've done that. How did you get interested in this area of understanding fear and the anatomical response to this? And how did you come across that and then therefore help other people with it?
I think I've always been more interested in the emotional side of it. I understand that there would be clearly some linguistic means that you have to teach your students. You have to give them the tools to communicate with. But then there is such a big part of it is a psychological thing. And then once you understand that your student doesn't need more grammar, they just need to feel good about their English, about the language, whatever the language is. And you start discovering like it's more about talking to the person and coaching them into this understanding that everything they do is fine. There's no need to be afraid of it.
What resistance do you get with that? Because we know in our industry, there's many different sects and crevices and holes of ELT, right? And then there's still a big one, would prey on the fear. I don't know if prey is the right word, but just use that as a way to, it might be hard for their clients at first to buy into that or to say, hey, and okay, I understand what you're saying. I agree with you. But then when I go to the meeting, it's not going to work. The expectations are different. So how do you navigate that?
I think it's an interesting one because I've always seen this as a kind of a dance, that every time you have a new student, you begin this dance of telling them, asking them, first of all, you just ask them what it is that they think they need. And then you tell them what you think they need. And you come to a conclusion of some sort that this is what we're going to be doing together. And sometimes the student would come and say, I don't have any grammar knowledge, even though they would be using conditionals and such. And I would say, I don't have the vocabulary, or I don't hear what people are telling me. And then you start unpacking it. It's not that you just go out and say, no, you don't need grammar. We are going to be doing coaching and psychological exercises. No, it's you move them, but just one bit at a time. You go, okay, what about now? What about today? But it's a dance. It's a dance. And quite often, I think that what happens when you start your own private practice is that you have to learn a lot about yourself, and you have to learn a lot about your students, your potential students, what it is that they want, what it is that the problem for them, what it is the background that they had. Why is that they still don't speak the language on the level that they want to use it? So there's a lot. I've always said, you know what? I remember when I started doing this kind of a freelance business thing on my own, I remember thinking that it's it's growth on steroids. You have to learn, to develop things.
I like that. It's all kind of a dance, isn't it? Like getting new client and understanding, even if you have a well-defined niche, each person is different, of course, from that. And then I like what you said about just discovering what you want to offer. Even if we have conceptually, at least in my experience, a concept of what I want to do, meeting new people, kind of understanding their needs. It sounds so simple as advice. Oh, just ask your clients or your prospects what they want. But sometimes people don't know what they want. If you ask me what I want,
quite
I'm
often,
I don't know.
They have no idea what they want. I just want to speak English, they would typically say. I just want to feel at ease speaking a language. And then you go, but what stops you from feeling that right now? And then you just unpack the whole set of either linguistic tools or emotional things.
And that's where people say teachers have many hats, right? You have the teacher hat, you have maybe the therapist hat, you have this, and I play one on TV.
I need to get paid as a therapist then.
Exactly. I want to go back to that identity question. Okay, moving abroad, and a lot of the clients that you have also are living elsewhere. And I've been very interested in the nomenclature around this with the word expat versus the word immigrant.
I think it all comes down to money, doesn't it?
Right. Yeah. How do you differentiate, or do you identify as one or the other, or has it changed for you? Or how do you, in terms of your identity, how do you?
Oh, that's such an interesting one, because it's been 3 years that we immigrated to another country, my son and myself. When the war started in Russia, we had to immigrate. So I do call myself an immigrant. In terms of, I was not really given a decision. I was pushed into the new reality. So I guess I would call myself an immigrant, even with all the negative interpretation that the world carries, but it's okay. Lots of people would come up to me in the street and they would say, you're just a tourist. I'm not a tourist. Let's get offended by this. It's been 3 years. I'm not a tourist anymore. But I think being either it is that you call yourself an expat or being an immigrant is just, it's really hard in terms of finding your own place. I think it feels that you are rootless in a way, that you don't belong there, but you don't belong here. And I see this quite often with my students. And actually, we worked in the project helping expats and immigrants who are relocating to other countries for work. And quite often they would take their family with them. And what happens is that usually the men, they go to work to save the capitalism and the woman stays at home with children. So my job was to help these women and these children. Quite often they didn't need the language. They just need someone who would listen to them. They just need someone who would answer the question about the identity and about where do I belong? What do I do? Am I an alien? What is going on here?
There's a TED Talk, and I forget, I can Google it, the woman's name, but the title is essentially, don't ask me where I'm from, ask me where I'm local. And I always thought it was a very interesting one. Because every person can answer this for themselves, however they want to do it, of course, right?
That's
but
true.
A lot of people have very diverse and multi-layered identities,
Absolutely.
right? With,
Absolutely.
maybe multi-generational, multi-international parents or grandparents or roots from here and trying to blend that all together. Do people ask you where you're from? Or are you 3 years into Georgia and you're like, no, I'm here?
I think they do ask me quite often. That's like a very typical conversation that you would have with a local. They would always ask you, but not in terms, I can hear that you don't speak with a perfect accent, or I don't hear you. I don't speak Georgian at all, to be honest. Quite ashamed of that, but I never learned because everyone speaks Russian here. So people would ask you this question. And then there was a moment, obviously, when we just immigrated, the first year of war, I was carrying this massive guilt and shame around the whole concept of being Russian, being the country that's initiated the war. So I was quite ashamed to admit that I am in fact Russian. It's getting better. I'm feeling better about it. I could say in fact that I am Russian and I am from Russia. But I think it comes out of curiosity rather than people trying to pick up on you. They just ask. There are so many people living here. The whole expat community is quite huge here in Georgia, so we all come from somewhere.
Absolutely. I went down the rabbit hole a little bit as I was preparing, and there's a couple that, your posts are great, right? So that stand out to me on this topic. You mentioned one of the posts, people would tell you, for example, that, hey, you don't sound Russian, for example, right? Or you stopped speaking Russian to your son years ago, which I think you've reverted back to, if I'm reading the post right.
It's been quite a journey. With the thing that I mentioned previously, being ashamed of belonging to the culture, belonging to the people whose government started the war, it was like a massive thing. I was carrying this. I think a lot of us, we carried this kind of national trauma and we carried this national guilt around the whole subject. So there was a moment, in fact, that I was like, I'm just going to pretend to be someone else and I'm not going to be speaking Russian to my son. I would just switch to English and he's never going to be learning Russian. But luckily, once I started unpacking everything with my therapist and with the help of my community and friends, it got better. But the thing about the accent is that, I don't know if there is Heather Hansen from Singapore. She often talks about accent bias and accent discrimination.
Okay.
And I found some of her talks were really inspirational. And I was like, this is it. It doesn't really make sense to me when people say, you don't sound Russian. And I go like, how many Russians do you actually know? Do you know many of them to compare? Because I do, in fact, sound like a Russian. But people would just go, I don't know what they would say.
That's you while you're speaking Russian to them or speaking English to them or something else?
Speaking English to them. You don't.
Even weirder then. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really weird.
In Spanish, I was talking to somebody yesterday, this is interesting, about how, I guess when you look like me and you learn in a different language, people like humor you. They're like, oh, that's cute. Like when I was just learning Spanish, like very basic, and they'd be like, oh, your Spanish is great. Oh my gosh. Because like you're making an effort and you're like, oh my God, this white guy is okay, great. And then it switched when I got good at it. And then it wasn't like patronizing compliments. It was like shock. It was, how do you speak Spanish?
How could you do that?
How could you do that? No, I don't mean not in a bad way, but just generally speaking, like I think it's pretty clear to say that when English is your first language, unless it's intrinsically like you're really into it, there isn't a huge practical need for many people to go out and learn another one, right? Unfortunately, because as we know, are such an advantage. But when I actually learned Spanish, and I've lost a little bit of it now, but the question started to change from, oh, you learn Spanish to, oh my gosh. How did you do this? It's amazing. So the reactions are very interesting, I think.
I think so. But I think when this is talking about the accent thing is that I think a lot of people don't understand that we all have accent. It's there. It's the way you speak. It's a part of your identity. when people say I don't have an accent, it just probably means that your accent is considered to be like a standard one, and you are lucky enough to have this standardized accent, and people don't comment on that. But for the rest of us, we all have an accent.
I got that in Spanish too. They're like, I was living in Costa Rica, and they're like, you're not from here. I know that, but where are you from? Because you sound like you speak Spanish, but I'm looking at you and this doesn't make sense. So where are you from? And then I was like, okay. And then it was a funny story to tell because they could tell, okay, you don't have a local accent, but
Who are
you sound speaking Spanish. So very interesting. Oh, for sure. For people listening, before moving to Georgia, were you a teacher? Were you working in this? Or is this something that you investigated and started to get into upon expatriating, if we use that word?
I think, no, it's a funny thing because I'm 35 and I started teaching English when I was 18. So you might say that I was teaching more years than I was living without teaching. So it's been my primary occupation. It was the first thing that I did. When I turned 18 of a legal age, I came to a language school and I said, I want to work here. I was studying linguistics at the time. So it's been the entire world for me, like teaching and researching and just languages in general, linguistics in general. It was always there. For the last 10 years, I've been working for the European companies. It was more of like a corporate story. There would be a company who would come up to me and they would ask you for a teacher to help the professionals who needed it at the time. And then I decided I was working with the corporate clients, and then something clicked and I was like, okay, I think I'm ready. I'm ready to get my own students. I think I finally do have an experience to talk about this. And this is how it all started.
So why, I'm very interested in this, like that click moment, you know, what drove you to that, or what made you decide to say, okay, I'm finally ready to get my own clients? Because that's, it's a simple thing to say to yourself, isn't it? And then to actually do it, or what comes behind that. You're a mother. We interviewed Jessica Diaz a few weeks ago, and she's like, I have mouths to feed. This isn't a hobby, right? This is like a real thing. So what allowed you to commit to that decision?
I think when you talk about the click, it's all about, as you said, it's a commitment, and you have to be mature enough. You have to understand that this is definitely going to take a lot of time, and you have to be prepared to fully commit to it. But I think to me it coincided the whole conversation about identity crisis and looking for yourself. So I was thinking, there's so many people who immigrated from Russia 3 years ago, and I was like, I could do things for these people. I could potentially help them. And to me, it was a very meaningful kind of job. It was like, I know how that works. I could help them, so I have to do this. So it all started with this understanding that I really wanted to do something meaningful. And I did want to do something for myself, because I think every time you work for someone, it's really easy to forget that you are an employee. When there were a couple of situations with my company at the time that they were showing me that kind of we are the family vibe, but I didn't see it. We are a family, we forgot your name. So I was like, all right.
Most people don't fire members of their family, generally speaking.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. Most members of the family really want the best for you, not just 50 cents increase to your hourly rate.
I do appreciate the sentiment of companies that do that. And I don't think family is the right word. I agree. I think community or some other, want to work somewhere. I do want to work somewhere where you feel, but at the end of the day, it is a business, and the business will exist with or without working there. So I do understand that as well.
It's feeling a bit irreplaceable. So and this is how it all started. And I started searching for information online. I started searching for the people who could potentially help me. And there were a few trainers who actually helped me. It was Rachel Roberts and Ola Kavanska. There were two of them that I've listened to, and I've started getting an idea, because when you get into the business side of things, you just, like 17 years, I was just teaching. I was not aware of all the marketing thing, of scheduling, organizing, accounting. That was the whole thing. Exactly.
I just did our taxes. A headache. Yeah.
So you have to start somewhere. And it was a big discovery. And the thing that I mentioned previously, it's like a personal growth on steroids. You have to learn about yourself. You have to learn about other people. And there are so many things you have to discover, and you have to be really honest with yourself. Am I ready to commit to it? Because it's in the beginning, it's going to be big. It's just one of the things that you have to go through this. You have to learn how to organize. You have to learn about systems that are going to help you. You have to learn about Excel tables. You have to learn about scheduling things. I think as teachers, we don't think about this thing. We just think the students just magically appear on a calendar and that's it. And then you realize that there's a lot of work behind.
You do, or I did appreciate how working for a school, sometimes we can focus on the negative, but you show up to work and there in the classroom. I didn't ever think about how they got there. But then when I started a business, I really did appreciate, oh man, they just did all the work for me. It's all there to do that. It's there. The word commit is one of those words that everyone understands what it means, but it can mean different things in different contexts. What do you think, so a teacher listening because what you just described is very true. And if someone has a business, they know all those said Excel sheets, these things. But if someone hasn't started and they've been thinking about it and they're excited about it, they may now feel less excited because that sounds like a lot of work and a lot of things that
aren't. I think it's very rewarding, isn't it? And getting your first student, it's so rewarding. Oh my goodness. It's like the whole idea of building your own brand, of starting doing this kind of marketing. I wouldn't even call it marketing, but just gathering people around you who would support you. It's so rewarding. I don't know what I would do without the community that I have nowadays. It's surreal, completely surreal. And I do understand that there's a lot of time that I've spent and put into this work of organizing people, reaching out to people, talking to people. Quite often this time was not paid at all, but at the end it pays off. There are people who really know you, and there are people who would refer other people to you just because they know you, just because they've seen you. So it's very rewarding. I know it takes time, especially in the beginning, but Excel sheets, you can learn it pretty fast. It's okay.
And AI can do that for you.
Teaching English, then Excel sheets will be fine. You will be fine.
I'm terrible at Excel sheets. People make fun of me all the time. I'm just like, I don't care enough to learn all the formulas. I'll just do it manually. That's fine. No problem. I do wish I had invested time in learning, but now and I'm just stubborn now. Do you remember your first sale? The FEB?
I think I do. I think this client was referred to me by a fellow English teacher who was not able to fulfill their obligation. And I was super excited about this. And funnily enough, this client still works with me. So we started 2 years ago and we still work together. But this is one of the things. Once you start building your brand, it's not only about the clients and sales and getting money, it's also about the community. And there are also other teachers, either freelancers or working for a company, who would just, I found it really incredible that I've been working online for the last 10 years. And then I was working in solo. I was always alone. And then you discover the community of English teachers or language teachers in general, and they're so welcoming and so warm. And I think there is not even this harsh competition. This is my student and I'm not going to give it away. Everyone is so fine. I don't want to teach Fridays. Would you like to take my student? And then you would say, no, I don't really want to take my student, but I know a person who wants to teach on Fridays, so I could talk to them. That's really incredible.
Oh. That is good. It's a lot of teachers commenting and supporting the post. And sometimes teachers may say oh, but that's not really my audience. And I'm like, no, don't worry. Right? Because it boosts, but it's also, as you said, creates this vibrant community of support where you never know. And everyone helps each other. It is a really lovely thing. The question of if teachers need to earn more money to stay in ELT is really the wrong question these days. That one's largely been answered. With precarity, 0-hour contracts, inconsistent work. The question isn't, do I need to earn more? The question really is, how do I make it work? Our TAP program, or Teacher Accelerator program, works with teachers like you directly to help make it happen. Through the process of being in the program, we help teachers build a lean, profitable, and pedagogically sound teaching business. 3 pillars that are really important to us. We started learning English based on pedagogy, responsive pedagogy, evidence-supported teaching through research. One of the reasons we started this podcast as well. And we apply that now working with teachers to build courses, offers, and support for their clients in the same manner. The TAP program really is your roadmap to monetize your skills by, number 1, creating an irresistible offer, number 2, selling it effectively, And number 3, securing consistent clients, 3 pillars of any successful business. And while no one in ELT is building multi-million-dollar businesses in this fashion, it's a way for you and for all of us to first stay in the industry, to work with people that we love to help, to get paid for our work. And our goal for anyone who joins us in the program is within a 6 to 12 month period, you can make an informed choice, meaning you've built your business up to a certain point where you can use information to decide if keeping your school job and your business or just doing the business on its own is the right choice for you. If you want more information on if the program is a good fit for you or how we would work together, there's a link below. You can book a free chat with us. We can go through all of the details. There's lots of resources on our landing page, our website, and on this YouTube channel as well. And lots of interviews with clients that we've worked with where you can hear their stories, what it was like, and see if that resonates with you. If you're looking to earn a little bit more and really establish yourself in your niche, in your field this year, we'd love to chat. And now, let's get back to the show.
Hey, I'm Mike Sad from Kelowna, BC, and you're listening to Teacher Talking Time, the Learn Your English podcast.
I want to talk about niche, because this is another word that fascinates me, because there isn't one way to do it. There's not 2 ways to do it. I don't even think there is a way to do it. I don't know how you define it. I usually just define it to clients as it's a thing that people know you for. There's different ways of going about where people start. Oh, I want to work just with men with blonde hair. And no, that might not be like the best way to do it. You have landed on helping Russian speakers. And sometimes people may think limiting yourself to a linguistic group may be limiting. But I always say, if it works, and for you, it is working. Can you walk us through how you landed on that? What was the trial and error behind it? What would be your advice for this niche question for people listening?
I think I started by actually sitting down and reflecting on the activities that I have done in my life and the activities that brings me pleasure. So I have been somewhat in the business communication for a long time. So I know how to deliver. I don't know how to do the exam preps. I don't know how to do, young learners. What I did at the time was just like talking to business professionals who needed to talk to other business professionals. So that part was easy. I felt that this is something that I could do, and this is something that I'm enjoying, so I could go with it. But then once you talk about business professionals in general, like international business professional, you start thinking it's too broad, isn't it? It's just, who are? People often ask me, like, what is business English? Is it about one particular industry or one particular group? What is it? How do you define it? So I started thinking more about who would be my ideal client? Who are the people that I could really help? And obviously, it helps when you share the same language with a potential student, you might use it. If you are a Spanish speaker, and you might start looking for Spanish-speaking professionals or Spanish-speaking students. I think it gives you a massive advantage of speaking the same language with a student. So I will go, I speak Russian, this is my native language, and I would just go with it. And as I said, there were so many people, I think we all share this generational trauma of being an outsider and never learning English at school. I know, I've been through this. I've been just like you, so I know what it feels like. So you just talk to them and they understand you and you understand them. So it makes it easier in a way.
It's interesting. I love it. How the niche question comes into focus. But you just learn about people and learn about what you have in common. And people will gravitate towards you or they won't. And that's okay too. No?
Okay. I think that's the thing with the niche, isn't it? I think it also helps you to understand that I cannot help everyone. I cannot say yes to everything that is around me. It just shifts your focus into one direction. And once you have this focus in one place, you could potentially start working on that. So
then that's the next question. Then that's a good point, I think. How did you resist the temptation to branch out?
I think, interestingly enough, when I started, there was a moment, I think somewhere in the winter last year, that I was fully booked and I was still getting DMs from people asking for help. So I've reached this limit of thinking, okay, if I push myself forward, I'm going to burn out. If I don't, there were like multiple questions about anxiety. What if the money runs out and what am I going to do? How could I say no to someone? But I think it's also a question about the boundaries. You have to, if you work for yourself, you have to be active with setting your boundaries. And it's saying no, it's such a powerful tool, man. You realize your self-worth and you realize that there can be potentially some other formats that potentially that led me to an idea of creating group courses, and potentially led me to an idea to start creating video courses. That my participation would not be so important. So I started doing this. I think it's very typical. I started selling my hours, 1 hour. Then I started selling the result, like a package, a course, so to say. And then I started selling video courses. So if you want to, I have a course on preparing for the job interview, for instance, and practically all of it is built around videos that I've recorded. And there are just 2 sessions that I talk to a student face to prepare them for the interview. So it helps you move away from this idea that the only work model, the only business model that you might have is one-on-one, 1 hour. And then you have to think only about the price, how much you're going to charge for this 1 hour. And once you move from 1 hour thing to the result, everything changes. And it's easier to say no, because you know that this is the result that I'm going to give you. If you want something else, I'm not the right person to you.
That's great. I was going to ask about that too. So starting with one-to-one, and then you were fully booked, it sounds like. So if that means a one-to-one calendar, and you needed to add something else because you have what we call a great problem is people are still messaging you for help and you can't help them in the mode that you were currently offering. And I think this is a hurdle for many teachers at the beginning as well, is selling the result. What worked for you, or how did you learn to communicate that to clients? Because sometimes that's not intuitive either. And a lot of clients that come to us potentially have gone through regular quote unquote classes, maybe on apps like Preply, italki, things like this, where the hourly rate is the standard cases across the industry. Resistance is there, not because it's like they're arguing, but just because it's different than what they're used to. So how did you learn to communicate result-based pricing and offers as opposed to hourly?
I think it became easier to me because I was creating the course about job interview preparation. And at the time, it sounded very logical to me. There are 5 different modules, 5 different videos, 5 different tasks. And this is what you're going to get at the end. So I would guide the person through all of the modules. I would explain to them patiently what each module contains and what is it that's expected of them and what is it that's going to happen for them eventually. And I think it was just very easy to communicate the results in terms of, okay, by the end of a course, you would be prepared to take a job interview in English. So this is what you have to pay for. This is not the hours that you're going to be working with me, not the hours that we're going to spend, recording the voice messages or doing the homework that you're probably going to be doing. So you move them from the idea of we're going to count the hours to the idea that you would be able to do something at the end. And just shows the progress.
Love it. Okay. And so in your business now, how many offers do you have? If I'm an interested prospect and I'm coming to you, what options do I have? How many things does your company is called Voice? And I was saying it in my mind, Voice It, is that right? But then it occurred to me you work with business, so it could be like Voice IT. It occurred to me as well, but it's it, right?
Voice It. So I do have this one-on-one coaching of someone who is already working in an international company and who needs to communicate with their colleagues on a daily basis. So it's more of like a long-term work. And usually the students come and I would ask them to commit to at least 3 months of work together to see any kind of results. Usually that's what they do. Then I have the job interview preparation. And then I have the community of English speakers, which is built around the speaking clubs that I'm holding every Friday. And there is a community space for them to chat. So this is like a cheapest option that I have. You could join. I think there is it's very limited in terms of like linguistic input into this, but it's great for creating the sense of the community, and it's great for people to actually get in the group and chat in English if they don't have an opportunity. And it's perfect if a person would come and they were like, I'm not sure if you're the right person for me, I don't know what to do. And you would just invite them for the group session, for the speaking club. You would introduce them to the community. And it's been such a ride about the speaking club community because I created it because I wanted primarily for my students to have an opportunity to talk in the group settings. And then it evolved into this beautiful community where people they started creating these horizontal connections. They started talking to each other. I was like, wow, I didn't need to do anything. They are just there and they talk English and they start friendships and they start networking and they start discussing things. It's a magical thing. So I think really the next step that I'm planning to do is like evolving this sort of community. I think community is such a big thing nowadays. It's very important.
Absolutely. Speaking of community, the one that you have curated on LinkedIn is a wonderful one. What you post about, what you talk about, how you engage with people is wonderful. Is that how you get most of your clients? Do they come through LinkedIn or do you have other means as well?
Some of them do come from LinkedIn, then some of them come from people from LinkedIn. So it's been, as I said at the beginning, you would have to invest your time into this. You would have to be actively talking to others. So I talk to a lot of recruiters, I talk to a lot of other business professionals, and they start like really nurturing these relations that I have on LinkedIn. It's not only a comment that I see. I would go and talk to the person and we could set up a session, set up a meeting, and we could discuss things together. So they really do know me. And then it's easier for them to recommend me to someone else.
I noticed that where you invite people for coffee chats like pretty regularly. Yeah. Just anybody. Yeah. Great. Marketing is this other word. So you said you don't call that marketing, that's networking or community, but marketing is a part of getting clients. Where would you recommend starting for someone who, I think a common, plateau of people when they have is to get a simple product going, they sign up a couple of people, maybe they have referrals and they have a few clients and they're moving. The next step is you need more people. And to do that, you need to build some kind of presence. How did you do it? Your LinkedIn trajectory, if that's the one that you want to focus on, or how would you someone getting through that plateau effect of I need more eyes now?
If we talk about LinkedIn, or I'm not a big user of any other social media, I'm not on Instagram, I'm not on YouTube, but I think what happens on LinkedIn is that quite a lot of people forget that it's a two-way street. So they just post into the void and they're just like, these are my services, this is my course, this is what I'm doing. But actually, it's a two-way street. You have to get out there and talk to people and read their posts and comment on them and start talking to them. I think a very big thing on LinkedIn nowadays is actually commenting and talking to the others. So instead of just focusing on your work and posting your thoughts, just get out there and talk to people and read their posts and start a conversation. Yeah, I think to me, it's all about just putting your time and effort into getting to know the others. If you cannot do this by yourself, if you don't have the budget or the resource to invest into promoting your post, then you would have to be actively involved with the others. You have to be there. You have to talk to the others. Tom? No magic. It's just, you have to be there.
I always say, you stole my phrase. I always say there's no magic to any of this. Just hard work in the right places. Are you familiar with the book? Have you heard of A Company of One, of this book? No? Okay.
What's that about?
It's about a guy, or it's a concept. It's a Canadian author, actually.
Okay.
Paul Jarvis is his name. And it's about the concept of if growth in business is a good thing.
Oh.
And he has this concept called a company of one. I don't want growth in terms of at all costs. I don't want to hire people. So company of one it's him. There's no staff. There's no employees. There's no marketer. It's him. And the whole concept is just because you can earn more top line revenue, like you can sell more stuff, doesn't actually mean you take home more money. A lot of people and paying bills for this, bills for that, marketing bills, that's expensive. And he starts the book with this story. I'm getting long-winded, I know, but this story about him, I have to double check, but I think he has an accounting business, but I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's that. And he starts the book with him saying that in September, he goes surfing and he just stops working for the rest of the year.
Oh. Odd.
Because by September, his business has earned enough money. He met his target, like his goal, and he doesn't need more. So he just stops. And he just says, that's done. I'm done for the year. So whenever I get to that number, whatever it is, I just stop. Because I don't have a staff to pay. And I don't care about doubling my revenue or a number in mind that I need to live in my life. When I get that, I just stop. And I tell my clients, see you next year. And I go surfing for 3 months or whatever it is.
Wow.
And it's a funny story. But it made me go about what is the goal of having a small business? And all of us have small businesses, right? One person, with us, it's two. But what do you think of that concept? Or I guess bigger question, what is your goal for yourself?
I think actually it made me think of an idea that you have to track your energy as well as you track your finances and budget. And being alone, you have to do this twice as closely as you used to before. So you have to think about yourself as the only reliable source of your business. But if you have no energy, your business is not going to work. So you have to proactively allow yourself to take time off. You have to allow yourself to say no to new students. You have to say no to any new opportunities that comes along. So I started thinking about this that's funny because there was a teacher on LinkedIn and we talked and she was like, can you imagine if we treat ourselves the way we treat our students? It's like, can you imagine the way we are going to live if we would just start? Yeah, I think to me, it's all about growth without burnout. And it's just, you have to put your boundaries and you had to put your joy at the center of your business. Was it like, I'm tracking my energy. I know exactly when it's time to stop. I know exactly when it's time for me to take a break and to say no to any other new opportunities. And I'm really grateful for the community because I know that they're going to. That's at this stage of the community development, I know that they don't need me as much. I just come there, I open up the session on Zoom and they start talking. So it really allows me to take some time off.
That's fascinating. How do you track your energy?
I think there's a lot of mindfulness and I've always been fascinated about the idea of meditation and mindfulness. I've been going to therapy for the last, God knows how many, 15 years. But to me, it's always about how do you check in with you? How do you feel today? Do you feel fine? Do you feel a bit tired? What's behind this tiredness? Did you have a good night's sleep? Is there something that is worrying you? Is there some anxiety happening in the background of all of this? I think it's a lot of teachers don't do that. They start in the morning, they start the classes and then they finish at night and they don't realize that I haven't eaten. I haven't got enough water, so I'm trying to check in with myself. Like, how am I feeling today?
Great. Burnout is another word that's common in our industry. We took last year on our show who researches that specifically, does great work. Is this a proactive approach that you've implemented for yourself or have you experienced burnout before?
I did experience burnout before and it was not fun. There was a period of my life that I was physically not fit for work. I couldn't speak. I couldn't hear. It was not fun. So I had to proactively get myself back on track. And really right now I'm just doing this as a sort of prevention measures of tracking my moods, of tracking the energy levels, saying no to the things that do not bring joy. I know it sounds a bit privileged and I do understand that a lot of teachers, they have to work a lot. That's like the industry's pushing us to be working much. But at the same time, thinking of yourself as the only resource, as your only resource. And if you burn out, it's very difficult. It's just your brain doesn't work. You don't want to see people. I remember feeling this. I remember being very angry at my students. And that's a big red flag to me to say, okay, you need to take a break.
That's a good measure. It's interesting.
It's like once you get annoyed, when someone makes a mistake, there is their eye, and you start, what is so difficult about this? No.
We've studied that 100 times.
We studied that 100 times. No, you need to take a break, really.
That's good. I think that's wonderful. I'm going to start doing that, tracking. Maybe after we can talk about, you can help me with that because I don't know how to do that. But that sounds like a very worthwhile, because sometimes I agree, it becomes, you get too far and then you realize you are burning out. You don't realize until you're there, and then it's too late. And then it's like, if I can track it before, assuming just like you could track anything like calorie intake or whatever you're doing, how many glasses of water have I drunk today? That would be helpful, because burnout is common, as you said.
It's
education, in teaching. Talk to Leo. Leo could tell you lots of burnout stories for sure. the industry does push us, right? I like to sit down at least once a year. I should do it more and just think about purpose. What is the purpose of the business? Because when you have a business and you're a company of one or one, maybe two people, it's your job. It's how you support yourself. The money is important, but what role does it play in your life? And I always ask clients that we have this question. It's very hard to answer, and the answer can change. It's not like having frame it put on your wall. You can change the answer. But you mentioned the word joy. And if there's no joy in it, I was joking with the Excel sheets, but I do think you have to find, maybe joy isn't the right word for Excel sheets, but you have to find enjoyment, the hard things, because these are the rudimentary things that if you have a business, or even just if you work at a school, like your admin work, your attendance and your grading and there are all these things. You have to, I think, my opinion, you have to find a way to enjoy these if you're going to do this in the long term. What do you think?
Absolutely. But I think it comes together with the things that we mentioned previously, the niching down, choosing your ideal client. It's just, it helps. Everyone I talk to, they are my ideal clients. I know them. I know their stories. I know, and it brings me joy coming to this session and talking to them because they are my ideal clients. You know what I mean?
You said there's no magic, but that's a little magic, right? To be able to find and to learn. I guess find isn't the right word because it's sending the advice of just out there and these people do. But when you learn about people that you're able to help, and I think the best definition of niching I've discovered is one that I've massaged is it's not necessarily the person who we might write down as the criteria of, okay, so Russian speaking professional, blah. It's once they pay and join the thing that I've created, and they go through the path that I've created just like everybody else. Of this more or less symmetrical, right? Every person will have, okay, this person's better at vocab, this person's better at this, whatever. Okay, sure. To prepare for a job interview, I would say I have a niche. 10 people can come into that course, go through and exit more or less in the same place without me having to create new things or recreate the wheel. And I think I found that to be very helpful. So when I'm meeting with people, that's where I'm thinking, like them through this cycle, and they're going to have this more or less same experience as everybody else with some, that's what the coaching is for, some like the tweaking of individualistic characteristics. But basically at the end, they'll have the same experience. And he's like, even after they've joined, will they have the same experience as everybody else?
That's a good one. I haven't thought about this way, but it's definitely, I feel to me, niching is also to me, is to feel proud about something that you've created. Like I know for sure that it works and I know for sure that it's going to be helpful. Like I have no shame whatsoever in marketing my own courses because I feel proud of them. Like I did it and I know what I'm talking about. It just feels easier in a way for you, and it brings you a sort of an enjoyment to talk about your niche because you know that this is the right one.
Be proud of it. Exactly. And just that quiet confidence that I've helped people do this. It does work. If you do this and this, there's no magic. But if you follow the plan, and if you don't do the work, it won't work. But if you follow what I tell you to do, then it's probably going to work out for you. Mm-hmm. All right, cool. And we have some questions from the audience as we wrap up here today. Is that okay? Some rapid fire?
Yes. Okay, let's do it rapid fire. I need to pick up my son from kindergarten. That's okay.
That's more important. Do that. From our friend John Hewley at My Speaking Score, he asks, what are the biggest mindset shifts or communication breakthroughs that English-speaking professionals need to make when preparing for roles in English-dominant markets?
Oof. There is one aspect that we've already talked about. It's about this reframing identity of being less than because I'm a non-native English speaker. But I think it's also this shift from correctness to clarity. There are lots of learners who are stuck in this perfectionism. I'm afraid to speak unless it's flawless. But then again, the global team doesn't need flawless English. They just need to get the job done. So they need clear ideas, they need ownership, they need human connection. And it's all of it. In the sense, it's not about the language. It's about being there, being present. So shifting from correctness to clarity is one of the things that you have to do.
Love it. Great. And one more from Elena here. Big topic right now, obviously, AI. How do you incorporate it into your coaching if you do? And do you incorporate it anywhere else as well?
I think I'm not very good at this. But it's important to tell you the truth. I'm very good at people, but I'm very bad at technology. I know how to set up the chatbox for a student to use. I could guide them through the processes of incorporating tasks that ChatGPT could send you a task every other morning for you to do things. So I could potentially guide you if the student is interested in this. I don't really use AI in the preparation. I know that there are multiple opportunities out there. I still do prefer to be doing things by myself and then doing my own research. And then the only thing that I would probably use AI for is to help me organize and put a bit of logic into the messy ideas that I have behind this. But the rest of it, I do believe there's nothing beats human connection. So nothing beats a conversation with a student.
I was going to ask you, because you're on the connection part. So AI is like the opposite of connection, right?
Exactly.
This could be a whole other show, whole other podcast. But I do think there's opportunities in AI, like in lead generation and things like this for lead magnets and things where you can just interact with it really quickly and then move through to talk to you after or something like this. That can be an opportunity to explore. One question I like to end these episodes with, if you have 1 minute, is because every business is different. And people who have a business are listening and they're comparing what we're talking about to how they run things. If people haven't started a business, they're trying to imagine what it would be like. And sometimes it's really fun and exciting and sometimes not as much. If someone were to shadow you for 7 days, what would they be surprised by?
I think they would be really surprised by the amount of people that I talk to every day. I talk to a lot of people. I love people. I am this kind of person who really cherishes these connections. And I do talk to a lot of people. And not all of it is paid, but I take it as an opportunity to help me grow in my business, in my life. There's a personal development. I think people would be surprised by, I know a lot of people get tired. A lot of teachers get tired because we have to communicate to people daily and it's a big task. But for me, it's always been a very fascinating activity. Just talk to someone. Yes.
Love it.
Brings me joy.
Yeah.
Brings me joy.
That's a good place to leave it. It's good to bring joy. Hopefully this episode brings joy to people listening. And thank you so much for spending some time with us today. Thank you.